how do we turn in pain to fuel? Because I think that right now, the country is going to go through some growing pains. There's going to be some growing pains in the market, even in the real estate industry. There's going to be some growing pains in the food industry. We're seeing right now the political growing pains. The audience that usually listens to this podcast are entrepreneurs, are men who are just like us. They're in the arena, they're in the grind, they're making shit happen. Give them some insights. Let's start with you, Ron, or how do you turn that pain into fuel, and what does that mean to you?
Welcome to the King's Code Podcast.
Welcome to the King's Code Podcast. My name is Raul Villacis, and I have here two amazing men next to me. Darin Garman, thank you for being here.
Great being here, man.
Ron McKay, thank you for being here. These two guys are part of my Edge Brotherhood. Yes, we call it a brotherhood. If you guys seen my content, man, we're in black shirts. You're in tons of my videos, tons of the videos. You guys are leaders within the community. And the reason I wanted to have you guys on the podcast was I want you to talk about how to turn pain into fuel. How do we turn in pain to fuel? Because I think that right now, the country is going to go through some growing pains. There's going to be some growing pains in the market, even in the real estate industry. There's going to be some growing pains in the food industry. We're seeing right now the political growing pains. So the audience that usually listens to this podcast are entrepreneurs, are men who are just like us. They're in the arena, they're in the grind, they're making shit happen. Give them some insights. Let's start with you, Ron, or how do you turn that pain into fuel, and what does that mean to you?
Well, it's interesting, and we're talking about the real estate business and farming because there's a lot of new regulation coming into it from the current administration in D.C., making it more difficult for entrepreneurs to make money in it. You know, you think about, rent with the different tenant rules now that are favored tenants versus landlords. And in our situation, the government's trying to protect the big farmer. The first wave was the small farmer didn't even exist, and the big farmers won out, and now entrepreneurs are coming in with technology, and you can be a smaller oriented business. The pain for me is it just motivates me more to beat them at their game. You know, they really, I call it the establishment, but the establishment in any arena, any marketplace, they really try to dumb us down, and they treat us like we're idiots. They talk to us like we're idiots. And that fuels me up. And the frustration, though, obviously, of dealing with the bureaucracy and the challenges and the barriers to entry, you get frustrated. You and I have worked on that many times.
I've been on the other side of the phone when Ron is ready to burn shit to the ground.
Exactly. And nothing sharp around me during our calls. And people say, "Don't go Philly on me." I'm from Philadelphia, a little bit of Italian temper, but that just that comes and goes. You make sure it doesn't last. To make sure that dark warrior drives you to something positive to tackle and channel that energy versus burning down the house.
And that's what we call emotional fitness, right? Having emotional fitness, knowing when to turn on that barbarian, that dark warrior, to go after the deals, but at the same time knowing when to have that king mentality.
Yeah, and if there's something that entrepreneurs are looking for, I think constantly is, look, we all want to hit base hits, we all want to make consistent progress, but we all want to hit that home run once in a while. Not only because we put a lot of work into doing that, but hell, we deserve to hit that home run once in a while, right? And I think one of the ways to hit that home run is to use exactly what you said as a foundation. As soon as you can frame your world, especially your business world, in a way that you turn that pain into fuel, that is a huge game changer. It's a huge game changer. And I would say, based on a lot of the conversations that I have with entrepreneurs, it's really one of the major things that is a roadblock for them in really reaching their true entrepreneurial potential. And it may sound a little oversimplistic because, hell, we know it's not simplistic. It's easy it's simple but not easy to implement. And I think my experience, especially with the time that I've spent with you, with the time I've spent with brothers like Ron, if that's taught me one thing where I have hit that proverbial home run, it's really used that as a foundation to moving forward.
Because what's the other option, right? We talk about it all the time. Like when you ask me, what do I always say when you ask me how I'm doing?
I've approached him once and said, listen, I don't want to hear you're outstanding. I'm not outstanding today, and don't tell me you're outstanding every day. He says, well, what's the alternative? You want me to call you up and tell you I'm miserable? And basically,
It's a choice.
It's a choice.
It's a choice. That's why I want people to understand that whatever is wrong with your life, we can always focus on that, but also what's right. They're both available.
Yeah.
It's a choice that we have. Do we focus on the things that we don't have? Or we focus on the things that they do have.
Absolutely.
One of my mantras that I use is shit could be worse.
Right.
Shit could always be worse.
Right.
When I look back in my life, when I want to burn things to the ground, I go back to things could always be worse. But they will get worse if you let it.
Yeah.
So my job as a leader is not to let those things get worse. So not to let them scale to the place where they're of no return. Because there's a threshold. Even though I've been doing the work for over a decade, there's a threshold. There's some days I'm like, fuck this, all right? But I get back to my core. And usually now I time it is less than hours when I go into dark warrior mode.
Yeah.
It used to be days, it used to be weeks, it used to be months before.
Yeah.
So I never want to get to that place where I'm not in control of my emotions. I manage my emotions. So tell us, give us a little background of what you're doing right now, because you're in the capital raising mode right now. You're raising capital for your business. You're also raising capital for your business. How are you helping investors turning that pain into fuel? Because right now, some people are losing a lot of money in the market.
Absolutely. Well, when I first went out to raise capital, I started thinking about the fact, okay, what opportunities do I have myself to invest? And what type of returns? Because I first was an investor in Hammock Greens, with the hydroponic, Agritech company that I invested in, and I wasn't the CEO, I wasn't in operations, and then I strategically started to raise money for it. And the first thing I started thinking was, the average person out there is not getting any type of decent rate of return. Again, they treat them like idiots. They don't know what's available out there. It's the institutions that manipulate the money to make the big returns. The average person doesn't get those big returns. So I approached it that, I wanted to give the average investor, obviously, an investment that is a little bit more on the risk profile side, but I wanted to give them the best of both worlds. One, regular income from right away. So we treated it like their investment was a note with a 12% rate, 12.75%. Most people can't get that type of return. They don't have to wait like an annuity, can't touch it for 7 years. 90 days after quarterly, they're getting that interest payment. They get a bonus for every year they stay in for an additional 5%, so it ends up being a 17.75% yield. And then after 3 years, they get their money back in full, and then they're along for a great journey of where the stock's going to go from there.
I think that a lot of people get scared when they hear those returns because it's too good to be true.
Yeah.
Right? So why is it a good deal? Why is it not too good to be true? Because what's the problem that you're trying to solve into the market?
Well, the biggest issue that we're trying to solve is the fact that supply channel issues with our food production, in particular green leafy vegetables. Anything from your lettuces, your arugulas, your herbs, basil, anything that really is green leafy. And then the industry is going to get into more now things like berries, peppers, tomatoes, and so it's just the technology is going to expand the product base. The reason why we have the margins to do that is because we're hyper local, is what I like to do. We put the farm through 40-foot shipping containers into where the supply channel needs it to be. So we eliminate the long haul transportation. We didn't have to deal with the increase of diesel costs, which is everyone else is dealing with right now. We didn't have to the fact that the truckers are making more money than ever because a lot of them quit during COVID. And we don't use much water. As you know, we use 95% less water than the farm. We don't use any pesticides, herbicides, insecticides. This is all cost cutting that ultimately is passed on to the consumer and anybody that invests in that sector per se. They didn't have the margins to do it. They worked on big volume, low margins. We actually right now approach the market as a high-end product, not worrying about the volume as much as maintaining our margins. And then that turns that return on investment over to our investors.
How many acres of land one container produce? Like I heard this is before, but I want you
Yep.
to say it.
So, I mean, one container, which is 2,500 cubic feet of growing space, 40-foot shipping containers that you see all over the place. That will grow now with the new technology, with the newest ones we have, 4 to 6 acres.
4 to 6 acres.
In one harvest. Now this is where the numbers get really very, very, very exciting. We don't harvest 2 times a year like an outdoor farmer. Even a greenhouse, maybe 3 to 4 times a year. We can harvest 16 to 18 times a year.
16 to 18 times.
Yeah. Which then ends up
yeah.
being, for each container, you're talking about over 50 to 60 acres of space.
Wow. I mean, and that's, the biggest challenge that we're going to have eventually is the food industry. Getting really good food. I mean, even you buy organic, we were just talking about it at the business boot camp. Organic doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it doesn't. Organic's an oxymoron. It's a marketing play. It's, again, the system taking advantage of the knowledge, telling you think that it's healthier.
But see, you using that pain, like I want everybody to understand that what we talked about the last couple of days is, where are you in your business? What business are you in? What business you should be in? What phase in business are you in? And how can you pick your enemies? What's the adversary? And how can you use that enemy to drive you as opposed to drain you? Yeah. So you have your enemy dialed in. Like, go ever see your physiology, like getting right up about your, who's your enemy?
Well, it's funny because I had a tough time when you put that up on the board. And it's probably one of the biggest things that came out of the business boot camp for me was that I looked at myself as the enemy. The only thing stopping me, like we always say, everything I need is within me now, is me. And you kept on hammering it home, and then I even said, it's beyond me. You said third-party competitor or something. And when Dr. Joe talked about the USDA and Big Pharma, it right away clicked, because I talk about that all the time. They're toxifying our food to toxify us, so we have to go to the doctor, and then writes a script, and it's this big, huge, very vicious cycle.
And that's what we're talking about, is how do you find that internal fire to bring that enemy, so the enemy could bring out the best in you. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's awesome. Darin.
Well, I want to echo a lot what Ron has said. And, first, it's real easy to feel like a victim out there when it comes to investing. And for many people listening or watching this, they know exactly what I mean by that. So, it's very easy to feel like a victim. And so another thing he said is you really need to be intentional about what you're going to do about that. And in terms of being intentional, then I think the next part is making the decision that if you don't want to be a victim, if you want those unconventional results, you've got to invest unconventionally. Okay.
Sure.
And so
take risks.
Yeah, exactly. And in a great company like Hammock Greens, that's an unconventional investment. And that's something that it can have just huge rewards once somebody gets out of that victimization mentality. And then you look at what we do in the multifamily space. And so we provide an easy way for investors to not only get a good rate of return on their investment by owning multifamily properties that will, as we all know, will continue to be more and more in demand as housing prices continue to go up, as our population continues to grow. It's kind of a no-brainer to pretty much know that there's going to be a continued demand in that multifamily space. And so we want to make it pretty easy for investors to not feel like that victim, okay? Invest a little unconventionally in owning multifamily properties passively, but then in addition to that, having that layer of protection, having that layer of a little more predictability in what's going on. And I think when you can do that and offer those things, then it really takes those investors out of that victimization stage into that investor stage and then into that, almost elite investor stage if they continue to do things like look at Hammock Greens or look at things like, Heartland Multifamily.
It's all about being able to manage your risk. When I became an investor in your company, I looked at it like, it's a no-brainer for me to invest in something that is going to solve a big problem. When I started buying real estate, we just shared a couple of deals that I did. It's no-brainer. People are going to have to live somewhere. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to live somewhere. Now, location is the key in real estate. in here is scaling is the key for your business. If you can't scale, the business is going to die.
Absolutely.
If you're buying the wrong location, you're going to lose money. So it's not about just putting shit on the wall, hoping it sticks. It's about knowing the risks, how to manage risks.
Yep.
And we all have to take risks if we want to win. That's part of having the edge. A man who has the edge could take on risks. So with that said, what have you got? What is the best thing that you've gotten being part of a brotherhood like this, being part of a community like this, that you could actually feel that you have the certainty to take those risks? And what has been like the biggest insights that you've gotten? Start with you, Ron.
Well, emotional support, number one. I don't feel alone anymore. Even when I was top of my game as an entrepreneur, and basically last few years of the last company I built, over 20 years, about 4 or 5 years, I was in a passive role, just collecting a check once a month, and but I was still alone. I didn't have that person to talk to and understand. First of all, no one to even celebrate with, just to celebrate on a monetary basis, which is so shallow. No, to look at the achievements over 20 years when we pioneered an industry outside the United States. This time around, really, Hammock Greens wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the edge. It really wouldn't. I mean, you came down. I was looking for validation whether I should even do anything with the business. I'd already invested my money. You came down to, you had the brothers get together in Miami one night for dinner, and I wasn't even a brother yet. You invited my wife and I, and I asked you, I said, the restaurant we're going to is right down the street from this business, this agriculture thing I bought into. I don't know what I'm doing with my life right now, but I want you to take a look at it. You came and took a look at it, and you were like, all over from, taking pictures from like day one. I'm like, wow, if this guy thinks it's, maybe I should get, I should get off my deck psychic ass and get into it. So it's the fact that then, so many guys that come down and visit it, and guys that you get to share the journey with, I mean, even, and Darin and I, talk a lot and different things aspect that, when we see each other, how you could see, okay, how far has Darin gone since the last time I saw him, And so that really is one of the biggest things in the group. And let's face it, you're having the downside. You've got the best damn support group in the world, and not a support group that's supporting you on paper. And it's easy to be a psychologist as I think you should do this, or they think you should do that, or by the way, I recommend this. These are gentlemen and entrepreneurs that have already gone through it. So
in the arena.
So they listen. You're getting the advice that's already been practical advice that's already been proven to be successful.
And I like what you said, support. I think when people talk about support, they always think about weakness. Oh, I need support. You're not supporting me. But nobody talks about like, man, we need support as we grow. When we look for support, it's usually when we're down, right? But we need to be supported as we grow, because the more you grow, the more support you're gonna need.
Yeah.
The more help you're gonna need. And I remember clearly the day that I went down to your company and said, man, this is awesome. It's a great, great concept. Now, you double down, you bought another company and you grew it. So now you really are a believer and you're all in it.
Yeah.
So imagine you just needed somebody to see what you felt inside, but didn't have the certainty. When you felt somebody else could see my vision, that he doesn't know me, but he see it, then you feel, okay, I'm gonna go in. Yeah. And I think that's what we do here, is that we support each other, and that's the word again, we support each other, but we're not doing it for each other. It's like you have to go in there and kill your own enemy.
Yeah.
You have to go in there in the arena. I'm here to support you because I am doing the same thing. We're building businesses, we're growing, we're expanding. We're gonna fall, we're gonna rise, but at the end, we sharpen each other's edge.
Absolutely.
What about you, Darin?
Yeah, I'll just expand on that a little bit with what you just said by saying this. It's real world support, okay? It's real world accountability. And for entrepreneurs, that is a game changer. And to have the kind of real world support and accountability is not only, of course, a big impact on Ron and myself, but then by extension, our team back home, by extension, our families. And so when you have that kind of impact on your entire world, so to speak, that's when things really, really, really start to get interesting. But it starts with that support and that accountability.
Yeah.
And it starts with you reaching out for help.
Yeah.
So if you're a man right now watching this video and you've been followed me for a while, it's time for you to reach out for help. If it's not this, find a tribe. We all need to be part of a tribe. We all need to be part of a support system. Find a church, a men's group, find a community, something that helps you, because you have to understand, you're not the only one going through this. You're not alone. Somebody out there is going through worse things than what you're going through right now, and somebody out there already has figured out the solution. So get support, be part of a tribe, because I believe that every single man needs other men to help them sharpen their edge.
And happy birthday, my friend.
Oh, it's best birthday present
Happy
I've
birthday,
gotten,
brother.
man. Man, just continue to level up. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate
Awesome.
you being here.
Appreciate you.
If you receive value from this content, make sure you subscribe, you comment, continue to follow us, because the best is yet to come. 2 claps.
Next
Next
level.
level.